attention.
This is 3D or 2D.com's The 3D Show.
Season 2, now twice as sexy.
Put on your 3D glasses now.
And if you're wondering what the 3Ds are in The 3D Show, well, they stand for discussion, debate, and the news. I do hope you enjoyed the show. The show, get it?
Hello. Welcome to episode 76 of The 3D Show. I'm Adolph Vega, and today I have with me
Jake Jarvis.
And we got quite a few things to talk about. And where are we going to start? Well, we're going to save the biggest story for last. So let's go down the list and see what things you want to talk about. So, Jake, what's the first thing you want to talk about besides the big thing?
Oh, let's talk about the Captain Marvel trailer.
Okay. What'd you think?
It did really good. It was a nice answer to the questions that the first trailer teaser raised. We got to see more, but they didn't give away too much, which is a good thing. It just kind of whetted my appetite for more. Like the first one, the CGI was a bit rough, but on a smaller set, it's going to look fine. These trailers look a bit rough because, these movies are months away from being released, so we're getting stuff early.
Now, it's fun that they started the trailer at the ending where she started to beat up the old lady.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was what everybody talked about on social media. I even joked about it. It says, like, typical day in Oregon. Two people fighting on TriMet. And I made the Oregon joke because we've got one of the last blockbusters out in Bend.
Now, everyone's talking about the cat, and they're thinking that the cat's going to take out the eye of Nick Fury. And I was like, come on, really?
Oh, it's probably going to be a Skrull operative.
Yeah, I think that would be much more likely. It would be really pathetic if Nick Fury got, his eye taken out by a cat.
Yeah. I know Chewie wouldn't do it. Don't know about Goose.
So, I actually heard a theory about that. That apparently Chewie was actually an alien, and eventually that rocket saw that it was an alien, and that's why they're doing it as Goose, because that way it's not an alien, it's actually a cat.
Yeah, but half the fun of her cat is being a flirkin and seeing that mouth exposed that even puts the Predator and aliens to shame. So if we don't get that, I'll be disappointed. Of course, this is something that I found strange. And Disney does this quite a bit, I've noticed, in some of their movies. Chewie is named for a property that they own the rights to. So why would they change the cat's name to a name of a character that they don't have rights to? Because that could make merchandising problematic. They would have to clear stuff with Paramount.
It's interesting. I liked seeing her turn into like the super version of herself, and just like totally go crazy and flying around and
Oh yeah, he went all binary and Warbird and that mohawk and her helmet, and then it would fall. Oh man, that looked awesome.
So yeah, I'm digging this. It's just like I don't see anything wrong with this movie. It looks totally fine, but whatever.
Yeah, a character seems to be a bit wooden, but if she's under some sort of mind control or brainwashing or something, or has had some sort of trauma, and Brie Larson's voice kind of sounds weird, kind of high. She is speaking in a higher pitch than she normally does.
Now, she's a great actress.
Yeah, she's an Academy Award winner. Yeah, she went for her appearance in The Room, not the Tommy Wiseau Room.
Oh, hi, Mark.
But a real movie called The Room.
Yeah, that Room movie is fantastic, except for the ending. The ending, I just think, dragged on forever. But that's just me.
You can say that about the other Room.
All right, so I think we covered Captain Marvel. Let's go to the DC front, where they're apparently announcing all these movies coming out that who knows when or if they'll ever come to light. But fine, if they're announcing it, we have to cover it.
Okay.
So they just announced a Plastic Man movie.
Interesting.
What do you know about Plastic Man?
Created by Jack Cole. Part of the quality line that DC purchased. And he hasn't been handled very well in the comics since Jack Cole's death. Because I don't know if you remember him when he popped any of his 60s appearances that were pretty pathetic. When I was a kid, they just made him they tried to make him a serious, tragic character. Pretty awful stuff. And 70s, then they brought him back kind of to play with the Marvel family a little bit. You know, Shazam. And they put him on, I think they put him on, I don't know if they put him on Earth X or what, but he was never part of the main continuity when I was reading comics. But he's got potential because there's been some really great animated stuff done with him. There was a show, but a live action would be, I don't know. I could see him as an animated movie. He could be awesome, be a great comedy, but
now don't get him mixed up with Elongated Man. It's a totally different character.
Yep, I know. Ralph Digby and married to Sue Digby, and don't even get me started about that stupid series where they murder his wife. Ugh.
Now the Elongated Man is on the CW verse right now, and I actually like him.
Yeah, he's growing on me, but he's nothing like Ralph in the comics.
Now, do you know any of the main villains for Plastic Man?
Most of them are the silly variety, like the Eel, which was Plastic Man. Yeah, he had to pretend to be his own villain. He was a gangster who got powers, and he still pretended to be a gangster. But Plastic Man never really had the villains like the other book. It was a comedy book.
Yeah, so that's the thing with him. He's kind of a goofy character, and his villains. I'm just seeing on here his villains, and they're like Dr. Dome, the guy with a dome over his head, Granite Lady, Colonel Cool, Madame Brawn, Cyrus Smith, Mr. Aqua, the Assassin, Mr. Cauldron, the Spider, the Malleable Man, Pink Eye, the Figure, Big Beaver, Mr. Green, and the Iron Fist, which is interesting.
I think a majority of these are one-offs.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember there being too many reoccurring people that because usually the stories I remember was a mystery, be hijinks, it gets solved, and they were 8-page stories.
Now, just in case you don't know what Plastic Man is, he basically, could stretch and, transform his body to any kind of thing. Basically the same thing as Mr. Fantastic or Mrs. Incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a first stretchy guy in comics. He Timely had the Thin Man, but I think he comes actually later than Plastic Man.
So, he could shapeshift and, he's invulnerable, kind of immortal because you can't destroy him. He'll just bounce back kind of thing. Okay. So, yeah, it seems like it might be a silly, fun movie, but I don't know if this will ever come to be. With DC
being... DC and I don't know. I mean, DC doesn't seem to have Kevin Feige working for them that can set up DC as its own studio and get the movies off the ground. It's always going to go through Warner Brothers and whatever, and then they're going to be at the mercy of whatever executives and their bonuses
So
they're trying to earn.
the next one, we're going to keep on DC here and talk about the Blue Beetle movie. Now, the Blue Beetle is actually very interesting of a character. In a way, you could call him like a mystical Iron Man. And would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, with the current one, yeah, because this is the third generation of the Blue Beetle.
And so he's actually, for a long time, DC was fighting for the rights of this, and it just took forever to finally get it. But now they finally have him, and it's passed on. I think there's like originally a super intelligent Egyptian or something, and then they had or alien, or I forget exactly the Blue Beetle background, but it's like connected to that. It's like a mystical suit that you wear that is like robotic or something like that. Am I getting this right?
The new one, the first one in the comics was a cop called Brad Garrett, and he gave it the amulet to Ted Kord, who brought technology into it, and then from Ted Kord, Jamie got the. And I'm not that familiar with the Jamie version because this is the time when comic books were so. It was. You have to admit, these days it's cheaper to do drugs than to read comic books.
So that's one thing that people have been commenting on, that this is not the Ted Kord or the that Garrett one. This is the newer one, Jamie Reyes, which at the very least, he's not that new. I mean, he's
Yeah, he's a decade at least.
Yeah, it's from like 2013, and it's not terribly old, but it's not like last year, so it's been around.
Yeah, because Ted Kord's been gone a long time, and heck, they coexisted, and so did the other two. They coexisted for a while.
So yeah, this third version, is like 2006, and the last comic came out in 2013. So it's like it's been a while. It's been out. It's been and it's this one, I actually think makes sense to not go to the original. You could maybe kind of mention the original things and then just kind of move on.
Yeah, I look at it this way: the other two have had their day. I mean, heck, the original one, he was created because he was a radio show, and they just made a successful comic book from it. He was one of those characters that DC bought.
Yeah, back in the days when they were.
Yeah, their universe is filled. A lot of people don't know this, but Wonder Woman was also a purchase. Green Lantern was also a purchase.
So back in the battle days of the 1930s and 40s, there was like a ton of different comic book companies, and they just went all over the place, and then Marvel ended up being Marvel, and what ended up being DC just started buying up their competition or suing them.
Mostly, well, DC was famous for buying and suing. Martin Goodman would just get the talent by. Sometimes he would eat lunch with the publisher and drop a hint like, "Oh, that guy is moonlighting for so and so," even if it wasn't true. And then they'd get fired. Then he would snag them up for cheap, because that's how we got Kirby, and that's how we got back Kirby, and that's how DC got Kirby and Simon, and then later Kirby.
Now, what more do you know about the the Blue Beetle?
Well, he's got a cool costume. He's real popular on this show. Young Justice, he's got a cool costume. Because you were like mystical Iron Man was a good description. So it would really play well with the tech heavy. I think the kids would like it because he's kind of tech driven and cool armor, and
And the newest one is Hispanic, so that gets a new demographic, and it's something different.
Yeah, he's not a boring old white dude.
And the Blue Beetle has not been, recently, because of the rights have gotten back to DC and everything. He's been in different cartoons and stuff, but you never seen him on movies before. So for a wider audience, they don't know who he is.
Yep.
So I hope this one actually does happen. Like we said before, DC, Warner Brothers, who knows if it ever actually happens, but
yeah, it's like at this point, I don't even know if we're going to see a Flash movie.
yeah.
Probably the Gambit movie.
Yeah, I'm still hoping. I'm hoping that the executives from the CW and the Warner Brothers film, are talking, and now that there's going to have a big crossover with the Elseworlds next week, and have that big crossover with different Earths and ideas, that maybe they'll get the smart idea and just make a Crisis in Infinite Earths, and just include the Marvel movies and the Marvel TV shows, or not Marvel, the DC, and really make a kick-ass kind of thing that's just multiple Superman, multiple Batman come together. That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only way.
I know, but unfortunately, they seem like they want to put a paywall up. Yeah, I'm looking at you, DC streaming service. How many streaming services do you think we can afford a month? We cut the cord to save money, not to spend more money.
So, I would love to see the Crisis in Infinite Earths and have Superman from, the CW Superman, and have Tom Welling, and have, Brandon Routh reprise his role, and have, just all of them together in one room talking to another as Superman. That would be really cool. And, have all the Batman, and, that would be a fun way to kind of honor the legacy of the DC comics and the TV shows and everything. And, even have... What do you think?
It would be absolutely killer. It would be awesome. And I would go as far as some of the actors that have passed on, recreate them in CGI.
Yeah.
Because you would just do a few scenes with them, because you'd have so many characters.
Yeah,
even though a lot of it wouldn't be that much for any one thing, so it would be doable.
Oh, and you can just totally play that up too, and be like, okay, there's a cartoon version, but so what? It is what it is, Have Kevin Conroy be Batman, and
have Adam, have an Adam West, and Burt Ward,
That's a dream. That's a dream I have, because I think it'll be fun to have Dean Cain and, all of them together. That's the only way I think they could even come close to coming back, because they're so far back with, catching up to Marvel and having that crisis and getting all those deals worked out, getting all the actors to come back to reprise their roles. Tom Welling, I know he doesn't want to do anything to Superman, but, having him come back, having, Dean Cain and all those people back, it would be fun. But that's neither here or there. So
yeah,
let's keep going here. We got some Ultra 3D TV news. Did you read about this or no?
I've heard mention of it and heard a little bit, but it wasn't a whole lot other than what I sent you, which was rumors of possibly next year we'll start seeing glasses 3D devices.
Okay, so it's kind of a weird thing because I've talked to the guys from Stream TV and Ultra D before, and I did an interview with them in January of this year, and they talked about a plan that they're going to have this fall, which now it's fall, and this plan is with a partner called BOE, and they're bringing glasses-free 3D 8K to the market, which is fine because you might as well just go ahead and skip to 8 at this point, right? Screw 4K.
Yeah.
So they had a press conference in Beijing, and they just talked about the technology that they're going to roll out together and starting next year. And I haven't been able to see it, but a lot of people say that the Ultra D glasses-free 3D looks fantastic and automatically converts any video to 3D, and works with 3D Blu-rays to make that work. So that technology is going to go into crystal clear 8K, which is actually being like distributed in Japan now, which is insane because there's so few things here in America that are even 1080p or for 4K, for God's sakes.
Mm-hmm.
I know the local Fox channel only does 720. It's like, come on, man. Come on. It's 2018. You don't need 720p. Come on, get out of here.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Give me 1080 at least. Like I haven't really dipped into 4K just because, it's expensive and it's starting to get cheaper right now. But it's just like, if you got 4K right away, then you missed out on the HDR, the high dynamic range, and now 8K is like a couple years away, and be like, well, I kind of think it's one of those things where the format wars are just gonna hurt people that adopt right away, and
Yeah, I'm not even considering 4K now. I'm waiting till this baby is in my price range. Or Patreons, you can donate to us. We could use this for review purposes.
Yep, give you more content. Yeah.
Yeah, give you more content.
So yeah, that's basically the press release in a nutshell. That they got a partner, so that's good news. But never even heard of BOE before. So I guess that's a Chinese developer, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good to see that they get a developer that's not just going to be, some awesome technology just comes and goes sometimes, and no one ever buys it, and no one ever actually does anything with it because they just don't see the future of it. But if this actually is going to happen, then maybe this time next year we'll be able to actually buy a 8K glasses-free 3D HDR super ultra extreme HD TV
Mm-hmm.
before the 16K comes out in 2025.
Yeah,
and then the 64K in 2030.
And then after that, the brain implant.
It keeps going, man. 128, 512, 256, 256, 512. We're just gonna keep going up those numbers, just like the.
It's gonna be 14.4 million.
They're just gonna have like the little triangle, the explanation, just like keep numbering. It's like, okay, this is now 500,000K, to the 10th power. All right, so we got some interesting news about Daredevil. We kind of talked about this before, but now it actually happened. Daredevil was canceled.
Yeah.
And it was not because it was low ratings. It was because Marvel specifically said, you're cut. You're done.
Well, that's what Netflix is saying. But the other guys are saying that they did it. So, I just think this is simply Disney starting a streaming service against Netflix. Netflix bought the rights to other comic properties outside of Marvel, and they just are like, well, as soon as we finish up our commitments, we're cutting them loose.
Yeah.
Because I can already make a prediction for next year that Jessica Jones and the Punisher are going to get canceled after what's filmed airs.
Yeah, and I think that's not really a prediction. That's going to be fact. I think,
Yeah.
that's like predicting the sun coming up tomorrow.
I'm practicing my predictions.
I predict Christmas is coming.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe assumption to make at this point, that the Netflix Marvel deal is over. So, to tell you the truth, if it wasn't for the fact I get Netflix free, I would have already ditched it.
So, I think the part of this is that they are done filming. This is going to stop them from filming more, and Jessica and Punisher are probably in the middle of filming, and it's just easier just to let them finish than it is to cut it halfway. And it's just poor taste to do that too. And why do that? Why have 4 episodes recorded, and and then you still have time left? There's no need to do that. They're not bleeding money or anything. So they're just gonna let it play out, and basically, when the season's done, after they post it, that'll be it. And they'll have one more season each a piece. They're probably both going to have the limited maybe 8 episodes maybe instead of the 13. I think that's a pretty decent prediction there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Defenders, which I don't think was ever officially renewed for another season, is never going to happen.
Nope.
Which is understandable because Defenders is pretty bad.
Yeah. And we're not going to see a Heroes for Hire or anything like that. And I wouldn't get your hopes up that Disney is going to revive these on their platform. If they revisit these characters anytime soon, it's probably going to be with recastings.
Now, that's a good question. I don't know if they would do that or if they would just move on, I think
they would probably move on because there's probably contractual things and usually there's compete rules, because it was because when DC made the decision to go with Matt Ryan again for Constantine, they had to wait out all sorts of clauses and stuff so they could bring him to the CW from his NBC show.
Yeah, so those contracts may get ugly. I kind of think if they would do any of that, they may bring back Jessica Jones and or Daredevil. Just maybe they could work into the MCU because they're so popular.
And I could see Kingpin in a Spider-Man movie.
Now that's the big tragedy, because Kingpin is one of the best villains Marvel has had.
Exactly. I would really hope that they can port him over, because I would love to see him popping up in the MCU.
I mean, for God's sakes, Kingpin is known to fight Spider-Man, and I can't really see this version of him doing that, but it should. So we were going to try to talk about Spider-Man Far From Home, but the trailer hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, all I've seen is some pictures that were BrazilCon of red and black. Looked like the Ditko original Spider-Man outfit, the red and the black.
Now, I was wondering about this because I really, really feel like there's no need to have this movie, especially since, we're going to get to Avengers End Game later. Don't worry about it. We're going to talk about it. But the fact that this is basically going to, steal their thunder. They're gonna have 1-2 punch, and there's no need for that 1-2 punch. Especially that obviously whatever happens at Endgame is gonna affect Spider-Man. So it should have been a fall release. I don't see any need to have this be in July. It could have been easily a November release, and they don't have to show a trailer yet.
This is Sony.
That's the thing.
Sony is they're wanting to ride on the coattails of Avengers 4 and make some moolah, and it might work for them because right now they're probably punch drunk happy over the unpredicted success of Venom.
I mean, it's not just it's a huge hit, especially overseas. Overseas, it is massive.
So, world, you just told the studios you want subpar junk, and guess what? They're more than willing to give it to you.
So, yeah, this Spider-Man deal is gonna keep going with Sony because they don't see any reason not to. They're benefiting from this. Venom was all their baby, and they got tons of money from it, and they got plenty of money from Spider-Man Homecoming. So they don't really care about the MCU if it screws up their plans because.
Well, I could see them possibly wanting to purchase some of the Spider villains outright from Marvel, so they could have the merchandising rights.
Yeah, and they've talked about having their villains be their own movies, and it's just like, I don't care. I don't care about a Silver, Saber, movie or a, Kraven the Hunter movie. Though they should just be in a Spider-Man movie,
Yeah, but that's probably never gonna happen because of what happened when Ron Perlman, the Australian investor, sold off bits and bits of Marvel. They're lucky to have gotten back as much as they have been able to get back.
Yeah, and right now this partnership is working out for Sony, so why break, a winning horse,
Yeah, they probably would want some merchandising, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see some exchange of characters and rights, a deal like they used to work out with Fox before Disney, and who knows, maybe Disney will buy Sony.
Hopefully, this is the only way I think this could work. If the Spider-Verse, which is going to be introduced in an animated movie, comes out next week, we have not seen it yet, but that could be a way they could play with this. And be like, yeah, we have the Venom universe, we have the Spider-Verse animation, we have the MCU universe, and then you could try to find a way to, mention that, and that could be a fun way of doing that. I would love to see if that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, if they mention, Tobey Spider-Man, or Andrew Garfield Spider-Man for that sake, just have those references and be like, okay, you were going to honor all of the past. And like we mentioned before with DC, there's a huge past of Spider-Man, and that would be a fun way, and I hope they do that in the movie. We haven't seen it yet, so we don't know, but that would be some way they could do it. But I don't know if Sony's smart enough to do that.
I don't know. This movie, the trailers that I've seen for Into the Spider-Verse look awesome. Hey, one of them I saw when I went to the Marvel 10-year anniversary fest. They ran it in the Dumbo movie in front of every movie. The Spider-Verse trailer fired me up. The Dumbo one, when I hear that name, I want to run screaming from a room.
So, we'll see what happens. I mean, maybe they're not that dumb. Maybe they just don't care. I think that part is a simpler solution. That they just try and do it for money. Whatever can make more money, and they don't really care about the art or the story or whatever. Whatever they can make for the cheapest, turn a buck. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, they seem to have no faith in it, which is horrible because it's got such a great Rotten Tomatoes score. And the trailers look absolutely amazing. I mean, like, I can't believe Sony's hasn't submitted Into the Spider-Verse into the best animated um, Oscar race, because they could take it. From what I've heard, the animation is that good. I'm just fired up to see this. I'm trying not to get too hyped up, and I'm having to work to avoid reviews. But I really want to. I'm really looking forward to this movie, Into the Spider-Verse.
That's going to be interesting to see who would win Best Animated Movie this year, because I kind of feel like, okay, we have Incredibles, we have, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. I don't know if it'll be too late or whatever, or we have Grinch, we have Ralph. What movie right now is going to be?
Isles of Dogs.
Yeah.
Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
And then we got a few other independents. Yeah, I think there's a animated film with the animated Beatles music. I don't Across the Universe. I don't know if it qualified this year or not for Oscars. I haven't seen it. It hasn't played here yet.
All right, we'll see. So let's keep going here. We got some more news on the Movie Pass. Remember that thing?
Yeah.
So next year they're gonna have a new plan, and this new plan includes IMAX and 3D movies. Do you care?
Yeah. Save your money. Hey, you need to see if you can get Mitchell O on the show to talk about this, because I'm sure a lot of our listeners would be interested in a plan like this.
So the thing with Movie Pass is that I honestly thought they went out of business.
I think everybody thought they did.
All the headlines were they're bleeding money, customers are upset, you can't use the card, there's all these stipulations, and all this, it was too good to become true, and now it's all failing. And now, next year there's a new red carpet deal, or the new whatever deal, and you could watch 3D movies, and you could watch whatever. And it's just like, what, you guys are still around? I thought you were dead. So I'm not sure if I would trust it to, put my money in. I think you have to buy like the whole year, right? You can't buy month to month or something, or I forget how they do this now.
Well, they probably introduce it now, and you buy they'd probably introduce year passes first, and then have next year the month to month plan.
So, yeah, the red carpet plan for a year is $149, and you get to see up to 3 movies a month, and it could includes one IMAX 3D, one IMAX 2D, one 3D movie a month. So that's one a month. So we've gone from 0 to 1.
Yeah.
Yay. And all the problems they've had with the app not working, and different, movie chains not accepting them. And honestly, at this point, I'm just not even bother. I'm kind of hoping that Cinemark gets their act together, and maybe even Regal gets their act together and just sees it right on the wall and does their plan, because they're more, I see a lot more Regal and a lot more Cinemark near me than I do, Movie Pass, things that take Movie Pass or AMC. So I'd rather just have that and just, so, because I think,
I mean, Regal's owned by a company famous for their Movie Pass in Europe. So why don't they bring it to the States?
We'll see. I'm not too happy about it. I'm not too thrilled about this, So we got some sad news, which, he was an older gentleman, We don't really want to talk about death, but a lot of death's been happening lately. And
yeah.
The redesigner of the Viewmaster recently passed away. What do you think of the Viewmaster?
Viewmasters are awesome. In fact, somewhere out in the garage, I have a camera which I used to use to take pictures that I could have converted into Viewmasters.
So the guy that did this is Charles Harrison. He was 87, and he redesigned it. So there was, stereoscopic viewing things before. That he just made the Viewmaster into something that is very easy and straightforward to use.
Mm.
Sometimes it's not about who did it first; it's who did it better.
Mm.
And he is the one that made the Viewmaster simple enough that a kid could use. And the Viewmaster, I think inspired generations to watch or to look at 3D content. And,
Mm-hmm.
I had the Viewmaster when I was a kid and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. So did I. Like I said, I loved it so much, I made my own.
And, it was something that was pretty cheap. I don't remember it being that expensive to buy one. I think, obviously where they made the money was to, you buy the new content. But still, that wasn't that expensive either.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's something that it's he's 85 years old. He did so it's not like he was too young, but he reinvented it, and it's something that really has impacted a lot of people. People know what a Viewmaster is. They may not know what a stereoscopic viewer is, but they know what a Viewmaster is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And even in the days of video games, and it was still something that a kid would enjoy playing with.
So, yeah, I mean, I grew up with Nintendo, and I had a Viewmaster, and I still liked it. I still thought it was pretty cool, and I think it maybe warmed up a lot of people to 3D. Where before that it was a very niche thing with the red and blue glasses, and Viewmaster was like, hey, you don't need to have the red and blue, and you could have it in full color and have all these different things. And
yeah, the Viewmaster was my first exposure to 3D content.
A lot of cartoons had 3D content.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of I remember a lot of zoo stuff, like animals and stuff that you would see them in 3D.
In parks, because there were lots of parks I wanted to go to, but they were too far away. But I could see the highlights of the park in my Viewmaster. I could see the redwoods and Yosemite, all those, the St. Louis Arch, Big Ben, the Eiffel Tower in 3D. In fact, some of these places I've never bothered to go to because I honestly don't think they'll be nearly as cool looking as they were in my Viewmaster. This reality just won't live up to it.
So, yeah, it's he lived a good life, and we gotta honor him and respect him because he brought it mainstream. And I thought it was really weird in college when we had a stereoscopic viewer to see, in my geography class, to see, elevation. And I was like, really? It's like a Viewmaster, right? And it's like, no, this was 100 years before that, But yeah, they had that technology forever. He made it work. He made it easy and something that everyone could do and play with. So we tip our hats to him. Another person died that is not as big a deal as him, but the creator of the SpongeBob cartoon series passed away. And there's been some 3D SpongeBob movies, and he's part of pop culture. What do you think of SpongeBob?
Oh, SpongeBob was awesome. I mean, it still is. It still managed to be really good, but Steve, he's going to be missed. I mean, such a bad luck to get ALS.
Steven Hellenberg.
Mm-hmm. He had ALS, but that's just SpongeBob is such an awesome, hilarious, original series, and it was just one of those just cool things. I mean, It was one of those things I just discovered channel surfing while bored one night and was like, oh, this is awesomely funny.
I think a lot of people see SpongeBob and just think it's just kids crap. And I think that's a really bad thing to think about because I don't think SpongeBob was always supposed to be a kids show. It was just as, completely surreal, out there show. If you really think about it, some of the episodes early on were just like, what the hell is going on here? And, really funny, really clever stuff and really out there. And, maybe as time went along with Nickelodeon, they maybe sanitized it some more and made it more, kid friendly and less weird. But it still has some of that odd factor in there,
Mm.
So it definitely is something. Now, I haven't seen the first movie. I reviewed the second movie and I didn't like that at all. Did you see the first movie or no?
Yeah, the first movie was nice. I mean, it wasn't as good as the first season of SpongeBob, but it was still interesting.
Did you see the second one?
No.
So, Sponge Out of Water, I reviewed that, and it just pissed me off. Not necessarily because it was, like, horrible bad. It was just lazy. Like, they took episodes from the show and just like, hey, let's just make this into a movie. It's like, wait a minute, you already done this. You don't need to just rehash this. And the scenes they have in live action with the 3D is actually legitimately great. And how the 3D animation looked in the movie itself looked great too. And I was like, damn it. I love the 3D in this movie. The kids, like, in the theater were like, wow, oh my god, Mom, the 3D is really awesome. I actually heard that in the audience, and usually I don't really want to hear kids screaming in the, but that time I was like, kid, you're right. You're right. And the 3D was great in that movie. I just thought it was such a lazy story. It's just really a rehash of the time travel episode and, other episodes. It just didn't feel original or new. And it just, nah. I think they're making a third SpongeBob movie now. I don't know.
Of course. It's their most valuable franchise on Nickelodeon these days.
So, yeah, I mean, ALS is it's a weird disease because it just kind of you could live a decent long life with it, but it does hit you and it hits you hard,
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I think we've been pretty good about delaying the inevitable and talking about everything but the big elephant in the room. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah. Dun dun dun.
We're now going to finally talk about Avengers End Game.
Yeah, a name that surprised absolutely no one. In fact, it was most people's first guess what Avengers 4 was actually going to be named.
Now, people were really getting antsy about Avengers 4. It's like, when the hell is the trailer coming out? I'm praying every day. And, like, I kept getting the, people are like, oh, it's going to come out this time or that time. And so James just recorded in and said, no, he cannot be with us for this conversation. So we're just going to be us here. So we forgot one thing before we get to Avengers. Just to tease people a little more, just to be a jerk. You got to talk about the Lion King.
Why are they calling this a live-action movie?
So, okay. This was a big surprise. I had no idea this was going to come out. I was just like watching football and on Thanksgiving Day, and then Lion King trailer, and I was like, what is that? And I was like, oh my god, it's Lion King. It's a legitimate, remake of the original. I knew the movie was happening, but I had no idea that this trailer was going to come out.
Yeah, and it's 3D animated CGI, and I'm like, this is not live action. So quit calling it live action. This is another animated Lion King movie. There are no actual lions in this movie.
They do look very, very good, though. The CG looks
Mm-hmm.
basically perfect.
Yeah, it looks great, but it's still animation.
So it looks, right now at least, like a very basic remake of the classic 90s cartoon, which is fine. So far, I have not had any problems with their remakes. I love Beauty and the Beast. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I liked it.
I really loved Jungle Book.
That one's great.
So they sold me. I'm totally fine with this, and for me at least, my generation, Lion King was like the top tier. Was like the number one Disney cartoon of all time. You know, so I don't know about you.
I was a rebel. I liked the Black Cauldron.
Black Cauldron, really?
Yeah, I was the right age.
Yeah, I guess one of the most forgettable Disney cartoons.
Yeah, I know. I know, and I also liked that one TV movie with Patrick McGoog and God, I can't remember the name of it. It's had many names. It's where he plays the Scarecrow. I know, everybody shakes their head and they go, huh? Well, I like Peter Pan a whole lot too.
So it looks good. I'm glad that Mufasa's back. You know, they can't change that voice. That voice is forever going to be him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, James Earl Jones has an incredible voice. So.
Mhm. Yep.
So okay, right. Let's go to Avengers End Game. So that's the official tiger title of this movie. And so yeah, the trailer didn't actually say it in the title. It just said Marvel presents Avengers or something. So that was interesting there, that you didn't see it into the very last second, you know, with the logo, with Endgame. And this trailer does not tell you much of anything. It's a real good teaser.
Yeah, this is like one of the best teaser trailers I have ever seen. This was spot on. This really sells the sizzle.
So it starts off with Tony Stark in a ship, and he's given a message to Pepper saying, basically, sorry, I'm going to die.
Yeah, that's the ship he's in. That's the Benatar. That's the Guardian's former ship. Because remember the original one, the Milano, got blown up.
And you know, he says he doesn't have any more food and more water. You know, he's going to run out of oxygen pretty soon. So that's his last message to her. And he has no hope. He's adrift in space. He doesn't know where he is or what. And that's shocking in itself, because where the hell is Nebula?
You see her later in the trailer. She's obviously on the ship with him. Oh, that's the way it looked like in the trailer to me.
It kind of looked like she ditched him there.
Well, he could have already cannibalized her for parts. Honey, I had to kill Nebula to make an antenna strong enough to send you a message.
But I mean, Nebula is pretty strong of a fighter, you know, so
yeah,
that might be a pretty morbid but awesome scene if you see Tony Stark fighting Nebula to death. Yeah. For his own survival.
I need that for my repulsor ray.
But wasn't there another ship there that was on Titan that they could have just flown off in?
Yeah, there was the big donut they crashed, but that looked like the Benatar they were in.
So then it goes back to Captain America talking to Black Widow, and they're realizing that their defeat, and Captain America is shaved, which now is a big controversy because everyone loved his beard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now he's clean shaven and is using lots of hair oil because he's got that hair jacked up. You got to look good after the apocalypse.
And he's like, we have a plan, and we're gonna see it through. And like you see Hulk, I guess seeing that people are missing in action, and we do get a confirmation that Shuri is missing from Black Panther. And it looked like they did mention on there, Spider-Man, and I guess they figure out a way to get Hulk out of that rock.
Yeah.
And it's a really sour, sad, but I mean, it absolutely needed to be because how the movie ended, how Infinity War ended, you needed to have some resolution there, and none of the TV shows are going to have the guts to talk about this. Not yet. Maybe Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. talks about it, but we'll see. Speaking of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they got a 7th season, which is awesome, but crazy too.
Yeah, they get the show that the fans complain about, which I really like it now. But it survives, and the Netflix shows die, so...
Yeah, and like the 6th season hasn't even aired yet. It's gonna be next summer, and like they just announced the 6th season like a month and a half ago, and then they announced the 7th season now. It's like, whoa, what's going on? So it's like, does this mean that they're gonna have those seasons, and then they'll be done? Announcing the 7th season, and that's it? Or are they gonna, they kind of, when they announced it, they kind of mentioned that they're gonna touch on the movies, so maybe they'll have more connective tissue to the movies now, more than they have been. Which,
yeah, we'll see. We'll see, because I'm figuring the reason it's summer, the release of the 6th season is because of the Snapture, and I don't like the name Decimation. Decimation means 1 out of 10.
it says Decide is 10.
Yeah. So
Half Asian.
yeah. So the fans call it the Snapture, which is a much better name. They should have went with Snapture.
Yeah. So that might be cool. That's the one thing that I've been wanting, is that a TV show could cover the post-snap world and really get the sense of how things are so well. That's just... And like I saw the
something I was wanting to see, and I was very disappointed that we've had nothing deal with the post. You're right, the post-Snapture world, and that to me has been the biggest disappointment in this so-called shared universe of Marvel.
Because since Infinity War, we've had Luke Cage season 2, we had Iron Fist season 2, we've had Daredevil season 3, and now we're gonna have before the end of the year, I think next week or a week after, season 2 of the Runaways, and no one references what's happening. At the very least, they do like offhand mention things in S.H.I.E.L.D., but the rest of the shows do not mention anything happening with Thanos or the Snap. And if anything, the Runaways would be perfect for that. Like, they are just running away and half the universe is gone and they don't know what's going on. And, that could be the whole season of just them figuring things out. Because, that would be a really good way to do the Runaway season 2, but it just seems like season 2 trailer is just doing the same thing they were in the first season, which, not bad. It's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like they're kind of just going in circles, not really going anywhere with the story. But
yeah,
not bad.
And But don't tell me your universe is connected, and you can't even reference the most important event to happen in the movies.
So, yeah,
Act like it happened.
or conveniently have seasons that that happened before. Oh, that happened this time, not that time. Whatever.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the Avengers End Game. You see these things and you don't know what's going on. You really don't know. You see Thor just really depressed and which totally get that. If I was Thor, I would just be like, damn it. I had every opportunity to kill him and to end this all, and I didn't go for the head, and that would just be, haunting you,
Because because he's already lost half. Because let's assume that a small portion of Asgard got on the ship and survived, and Thanos's family wiped out half of them to get the stone that the Tesseract. So he lost half of his survivors. Then the snapshot happens. He loses another half. So he's down to 25% of the survivors that got on this ship.
Or less.
Yeah, or less. I mean, that's the best case scenario. That 25% of those on the ship are still alive.
And then his, Earth family, everyone he knows on Earth too, and he was the one. He had the damn axe. He could have, if he would have gone for the head, it would have solved everything, but he went for the arm, and, which understandable. If the arm got cut off, he couldn't have snapped it, but it is what it is. But yeah, he's sad, and, you do see Ronin, which is interesting, which is the new name of Hawkeye. Because you do see Hawkeye was not in the first one, so now he's here, and it looks like Black Widow's shocked to see Hawkeye, but maybe he's killed a bunch of people in front of her or something, because you know.
If it follows anything like the comics, he's his family's probably gone, and he's now an assassin for hire.
Yeah, and that could be a horrifyingly sad event if, totally Hawkeye's just watching TV, and it's like, man, I want to help out. It's like, no, hun, our family needs you. And then, okay, you get a hug, and everyone vanishes but him. Oh my god.
Yeah, that would probably put him over the edge.
I mean, it would put anyone over the edge, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Just, I'm just like, oh, I could, because he's the one that did, try to stay with his family and try to do that. And then if his entire family did not survive the snap, that would just be crazy. But that's the kind of thing that's good storytelling,
Yeah.
So then you get to see, it goes to the logo, and then it cuts out, and then it's like, oh, is that our old footage? And you see Ant-Man.
Yeah, because he's acting just like he did in when he sent that message to Civil War, that hyper, and it was so he was thinking, did you bring up an old message? Because it's one of the, I just chuckled when he did that, because that was yeah, he's acting just like he did last time that they met. Exactly the same phrasing, everything. So he probably thought it was an old message.
Now, on the video screen, it did see on the, we could barely see it, but you could see it says archive. So maybe this is an old video, and, maybe the time travel idea is the actual reality here,
Mm-hmm.
But it could just be a good Marvel tease, because, we saw the Hulk run in Infinity War toward Thanos, and that did never happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Marvel has had a history of teasing things in the teaser trailers and trailers that don't happen in the movie, specifically to throw you off.
Mm-hmm. but they're not completely dishonest. They just instead of the Hulk, we got Bruce Banner in the Hulkbuster armor. So he was there fighting. He just wasn't like we thought he was going to be.
Well, we saw the footage of Hulk running towards the screen.
Running, exactly, which didn't happen.
Yeah.
In the trailer. Somewhere there's an alternate Earth that happened.
Yeah, the same. We love talking about alternate realities in this episode.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think we're all looking for an alternate reality these days.
So yeah, it's one hell of a teaser because it gives you nothing. You get no idea what's going on. Just that your characters are all depressed and not try to have an idea but not sure what's going to happen. And this is all you really need. But the very end is the kicker because there is a new date for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it threw me off because I posted on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere, here's the new trailer, comes out on this date and this time, on 3D and 2D. And it was always going to be May 3rd, and now it got pushed up to April.
Yep. I guess that's global warming for you. Just made the summer movie releases come out in April now.
Which is fine, because I think everywhere is going to get it at the same time.
Yeah. Except now I think we're going to a 4-movie season instead of a 3 segmented movie season. Which is okay by me. It doesn't matter to me one way or another. But it is sort of weird referring to April as summer movie season.
So April 26, 2019 is the release date for Avengers End Game instead of May 3rd. And I think that's going to be basically worldwide. I mean, I think it might be one place here and there that might have it a day or two after. But they did this again with Infinity War. So, that's awesome. I'm totally fine with that. It makes it easier to wait 4 months instead of 4.5,
Just wait. They haven't announced ticket sales yet. And just plot out your theater, where you're going to go, and get your tickets.
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember getting my ticket, like, the first hours it came up, and then, after that, it sold out.
Yeah, I already told the people if they want to see it with me, they have to confirm with me. I told them by January 1st. And then I grab tickets the minute they go on sale.
Now, this is shot in IMAX because all the new Avengers movies are, all the new Marvel movies are shot in IMAX. Now, the IMAX 3D is interesting because when the 3D Blu-ray came out, people were complaining that it was not like the full IMAX resolution, which is the full 16:9, aspect ratio. So it did not fill the entire screen. So that IMAX version is going to be like the only time you get to see it in theaters, Maybe this time for this Blu-ray, but I don't see why they would hold that back again. I don't know why they did it in the first place. Might as well just go ahead and put it 16:9. You have the recording of it, but I don't know what's going on there. But I mean, definitely this is going to be worth watching IMAX, I think, because it's a huge, filmed in IMAX, the huge screens, it's a huge movie and it's going to be a huge thing to watch. And, definitely want to get your money's worth out of that. You'd want to go some cheapskate, place to see this because you want to have the big speakers, the big, bright, gorgeous screen, because this is the event,
Yep.
This is the end game to see how things work out.
Exactly. Yeah, because I also warned people who wanted to go see it with me. I may actually try to go see this in D-Box. I saw Infinity War in D-Box. It was like being on a roller coaster for 2.5 hours.
D-Box is fun, but it's expensive.
And I saw so many people get sick. It was funny.
So Yeah, I'm guessing people are like, "Hey, where's Captain Marvel? Where's Captain Marvel?" And it's like, all right, I'm guessing that they have footage of Captain Marvel, but they want to release that movie and then release a new trailer and have Captain Marvel in there. You know?
Mm. I think she's going to show up in a trailer after probably the final End Game trailer. We'll see Captain Marvel after her movie comes out.
Yeah, I think that's how you do it because it's synergy, and you don't want to get people who the hell's that lady, and that haven't seen
Mm-hmm.
it and know who she is. And people are talking about maybe Captain Marvel saves Iron Man.
Could be. Depends on if. I mean, space is big, but also Pepper might put on her rescue armor and come save his ass.
Yeah, and people have been comparing the scenes from Iron Man 1 and this where Tony is just desperate and not sure what's going to happen, and then he finds a way to get out.
Oh, did you catch the scene in the trailer where Tony is looking out the window and he's wearing one of Star-Lord's shirts?
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I was like laughing, and I'm like going, "Well, it's not like Star-Lord's gonna complain or anything."
Yeah. Well, it's definitely exciting, and I'm happy to have it. I just want more. I want to see it.
Yeah, yeah. It did its job. It just made you want more. Just more, more. April can't get here soon enough.
Now, people are saying who's going to be the villain for Avengers 4 or of Endgame, and it's like, do you really need a villain? you know?
Yeah, exactly. We'll find out. I would rather not find out until it's unveiled to me on the screen. But I know that's not going to happen. I know it's going to be spoiled for me. There's going to be a Lego toy release or something that's going to spoil it. So I know I'm not going to be able to go in with knowing.
Now, I don't really care if Thanos is the villain here, too. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
If the entire movie is trying to figure out how to undo it and not, then that's the entire movie, you don't
Yeah.
you don't need another new villain to pop out of nowhere to do this. The wrapping up of that storyline from and making a whole new, tying up everything is enough.
Yeah, because we don't know exactly what's going on. We don't know if this movie starts right after the last one or if time has passed. We might have a scenario here where Tony dies in space and they go back in time and save him. Who knows?
Yeah, that might actually happen. Yeah.
We don't know. That could actually happen. We don't have any inside knowledge. We're just speculating here, folks.
We're just spitballing. Yeah.
Yeah, we're just spitballing. So don't at us.
But yeah, you're totally right. That would be incredibly dark. But I mean, that could happen if they do have the time travel, and then boom, time travel can fix things, and just like the Flash, it could also screw up things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
and who knows? But oh yeah, something else I think we should mention. The Russo brothers have given a few talks lately about Infinity War, and they confirmed that Loki is 100% absolutely positively dead.
Good.
But that doesn't mean that if the time travel bit happens, that they don't give Loki a heads up.
True. Or if
but right now, as things stand, Loki is dead.
Now, the thing with Loki, too, is that in the comics, it is very canonical that he comes back to life.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And same thing with Thor, same thing with Asgard, that's part of Ragnarok, is that basically everyone dies and then is resurrected, a new generation, and then, it's like the circle of life, and,
Oh, and I would love to see him do what he did in the comics. He took Sif's form in the comics to, taunt Thor. That would be so awesome to see Jamie Alex as Loki.
Yeah. So that's, possible there. I think I also heard that they don't know how to cut it down to less than 3 hours, which at this point,
That's okay. That's okay. I think America is ready for a 3-hour Avengers movie.
I mean, the only people that will complain are the theaters because they want to have as many showings as they possibly can, and Disney wants to have, as many showings as they can because you can only have so many hours in the day, but
yeah. But hey, that never stopped Regal from adding ticket, because I remember them charging me $2 to see Lawrence of Arabia because it ran over 2.5 hours.
I mean,
that's never stopped from sticking us with an extra charge. They could also stay open longer.
I mean,
small town theaters can't, but
it didn't stop Lord of the Rings movies from being successful. So who cares? Who cares if it's 3 hours? As long as it's great content, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, there's parts of the world that people expect movies to be 3 hours long. I mean, Bollywood, they joke, you call a 3-hour movie, it's short.
Now, I'm totally fine if they want to do like an old school intermission,
Yeah.
If they want to do like a 15-minute intermission or something and be like, all right, and just give everyone a chance to go to the bathroom, get some more snacks, all right, I'm game. Make it 4. I don't care.
Yeah. Exactly. Hey, adult depends, not just for your grandparents anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, you get some Negan crapping pants at the Walking Dead store, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, and just you could have a big timer and be like, all right, we're gonna take a break, and then just have a big clock countdown for 20 minutes, so that way how much time you have left, and the movie theater can get their food, and that's how they get their money anyways. The food, they don't care about the movies,
Yeah.
Food and drinks,
yeah.
And so yeah, who cares? I don't care if it's 4 hours. I don't care if it's 3 hours. Whatever, as long as it's great content. And I didn't feel like Infinity War was long because it was like the longest one before that, and I thought it was totally fine. So go for it. Who cares?
Oh, can you imagine the fan events? See Infinity War, then right after it, End Game.
Yeah. So, and then some movies don't need to be long.
Yeah.
Spider-Man Far From Home doesn't have to be 2 hours long. It could be a clean 90 minutes and it'll be fine,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think that's basically it for Endgame. There's not much there. And, everyone else is doing, hour-long podcasts about analyzing each frame. And it's like
2.5 minute trailer.
And
then and most of the stuff they're going over, I'm just, the few that I've watched, I've just rolled my eyes because it's like that you're getting so many details wrong, or you're speculating on stuff you have no way of knowing, or any.
Yeah, I mean, knowing that they know the game, they know that people are going to analyze this.
Mm-hmm.
You could analyze it, sure, but at the same time,
the planet Thanos is on, running his hand through the crops, and you see his armor. I mean, you saw his suit, his armor, being used as a scarecrow in Infinity War. It's in the corner if you look. So he's on the planet he landed on in the last one. So he seems to be settled down and doing what he's doing.
Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Yeah, and Thor, it looks like he's sitting outside. That scene looks like he's sitting outside of Avengers headquarters.
Yeah.
That looks like walls of the Avengers. Doesn't look like he's in a jail cell or anything.
Yeah, I mean, you can analyze stuff, but at the same time, you got to know that, Marvel knows the game. Marvel's not going to, so it's fine. All right. Well, I think that's going to be it. So, bye.
Bye.
All right. Before this podcast ends, I want to give a thank you to my patrons. Right now, we have one patron, which is David from Spain, and I want to thank you for your financial support. All right. So that's going to be it for this podcast.
We now have a Patreon, and the link is in the description. Thanks for watching.
And we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, a little bit everywhere. Just look for us, 3D or 2D. And of course, review us on iTunes. And if you want to write us a letter, our email address is email3d or2d@gmail.com. So that's going to be it. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone.